Um, Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Week 1 draft of the 2024 AU Pro Volleyball season. I'm your host, Savannah Collins, and with me are our captains for Week 1. Now that we're here, it really means that this season is underway. Thanks for joining us on our new platform. We are so excited to bring you closer to the captains, closer to this experience of putting together teams in the AU Pro Volleyball format. Okay, quick intro for these captains. If you have been tuning in, you know who these stars are, but a quick recap of the teams that they're going to be leading this week and how they got here. So, the final leaderboard standings from the previous championship season determines the captains for the start of each new AU Pro Volleyball season. 2023 champion Leah Edmond will not be returning for the upcoming season. She's taking some time off after playing in the PVF, just like a lot of these athletes have. And so these are your top returners heading into Week 1. Starting off with a purple team captain who's going to make the first pick is Betty De La Cruz. She's coming back for her 4th season. She finished 6th overall, and she holds a ton of AU records, like the single season record for kills and aces. She knows what it takes to do well in this position as a captain. Then you have Morgan Hintz, who's going to lead the blue team this week. She is our reigning defensive player of the year. She's won the award not once, but twice. Last season, she led the league in digs and holds the single match record for digs with 25. She set that last season, breaking her own record to do it. Then we have our Orange Squad captain, Natalia Valentin Anderson. She is only the second player in AU volleyball history to earn a medal in back-to-back seasons. She has a career record of 12-5 as a captain. We saw your votes of who you thought was going to put together the top team. We're going to find out who she picks in Week 1. And then we have Brooke Nuneviller in gold. She was a captain in Week 5, closing out last year. She led her team to a 2-1 week. She was a 3rd place medalist, and she was 5th in the league in digs, had 6 double-double performances, and set the single match record for the most kills without an attack error last season. She is so efficient, and she's coming back in Week 1 to be a captain again. Okay, That's who's leading these teams, but let's find out who their first picks are, starting off with Betty, who is the number 1 pick of this week's draft.
My first pick is Brittany Abercrombie.
Brittany Abercrombie is off the board and going to the purple squad. So they know the draft order. Betty's going to make her first pick. Morgan is going to come in and make the second pick. Sometimes these first picks are predictable. They have good guesses. Sometimes they maybe need some time to make some changes. But Morgan, if you're ready, go ahead and lock in your first pick.
My first pick is Danny Drews.
Danny Drews heading to team hints this week. Natalia, if you're ready, she's going to take some time to chat with her facilitators. These captains are sitting by, the facilitators who are helping them lead their teams this week. Natalia, if you're ready, lock in the next first pick.
My first pick is Madison Rischel.
Madison Rischel is going to be playing on the orange squad this week. We're going to lock in one more pick and hear from the captains in this first round. After this round, the captains are going to hop into their Zoom rooms to talk with their teams as they come together. Brooke, if you're ready, who is your number 1 selection?
Molly McCage.
Molly McCage off the board here in the first round. So those are your number 1 picks. We're going to take a second for these captains to head into their rooms that they're going to be able to work with their teams to put together their rosters. They're going to leave us here on screen, and they're going to join in with their facilitators with those number 1 picks. And this is going to give them an opportunity to be able to talk with their team to make their further selections. So you're going to see them hop off in just a minute here. While we wait, thinking about these number 1 picks and why this draft is going to be so interesting is because these 4 captains have totally different positions. So they're looking for different things. Obviously, we have 2 outside hitters. Then we have a setter and a libero. So these captains need different things in these early rounds in order to put together their teams that fit not only themselves because they're going to be a leader with on their team, but maybe they need someone who's going to score. Maybe they need to go ahead and establish that setter. So we're going to see as these picks come in of how these teams are going to put together their groups. So as these picks start to roll in, we'll take a look at that draft board. But thanks for tuning in to our new format. We appreciate you being here. Don't go anywhere once this draft ends. We're going to join in with the 4 captains and get to talk with them for a moment and get to ask them about their teams as they came together and see those picks as they roll in. I'm going to get those picks pulled up in front of me so we can see them as they come in. But do keep in mind, we have a chat for this draft. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear your thoughts as these picks start to come together. Let's talk about those number 1 picks first. Molly McCage coming there to join the gold squad this week, I think should be no surprise. If you have been following along to the AU Pro Volleyball seasons, she has been a middle that has been so dynamic, getting to be at scrimmages. I got to see some of her performance, and she jumped right back in where she left off. And so I think that's why when we're seeing these picks come in, why she was there. Then you had Maddie Rochelle. She's one of our newcomers this week. And she's going to be playing with AU Pro Volleyball for the very first time. Danny Drews, we saw her 2 seasons ago. So this is a major return for Danny Drews. She was a 3rd place medalist back in the 2022 season. She took a year off playing with AU and has played overseas. And then you have Brittany Abercrombie. She's another one of those newcomers. She's entering her 6th year as a pro, and she's an opposite. So you're seeing Betty De La Cruz, who's this dominant outside, is going to establish her other pin in Brittany Abercrombie with her first pick. She's played in South Korea, Turkey, Puerto Rico, Germany, and Poland. She most recently helped her team win 2nd in the Korean Volleyball Federation. So she has been really someone who's proven. But something to note as we're coming into this season is we have so many newcomers. Some of these athletes may be familiar, but the scrimmages that we had yesterday and the day before have really been the best indicator that the captains have had of who to put together with their teams. Maybe it's the first time they've seen these athletes. Maybe it's been years since they played together. So it's going to be really interesting to see the newcomers that go off the board early. And that's one of the things I want to know about Maddie Rochelle, the outside hitter. She was drafted to Team Valentine Anderson. She had a collegiate career at Arizona, and she's competed with the U.S. women's national team. So she's played on a super high level within the USA gym. She's also played in Korea, China, Turkey. She most recently competed with Team USA at the 2022 FIVB Volleyball Nations League. And she's played in a ton of Pan Am Cups. So she's someone who is coming in with a ton of experience, playing at a really high level. So we're starting to see some new picks roll in. So obviously we're going to move purple, blue, orange, gold. It's a snake draft. So Brooke Nuneviller makes a double pick. So Brooke Nuneviller's first pick was Molly McCage. Then coming in with the second pick is Sydney Hilly. Sydney Hilly was one of the setters last year who really came on the scene to be dominant. Just looking at some of her stats, there's really few players in any league who could have boasted a better rookie season than Sydney Hilly. She had a solid 8th place finish. She came back into this championship season last year after playing on the volleyball exhibition tour where they went across the campuses across the country. And she's one that really proved that not only could she be a leader on the court, but also as a captain too. She served in that role. She had a league-high 13 matches with 30 or more assists, including 4 outings with 40 or more assists last year. So looking at Team Nuneviller, she's starting to establish some size. And then obviously her setter. I think that's what's going to be interesting about these early rounds is outside of Natalia, who's going to captain her own team and be the setter running the offense, how long will these captains wait to lock in with a setter, especially with Betty De La Cruz, who is going to be this big-time hitter for her squad. And I know that she's often very comfortable with Natalia Valentine Anderson, but they won't be on the same team this week. So Team Valentine Anderson has locked in their next pick, Genesis Collazo. Then we have Claire Hoffman going to Team Hens. And then Tori Dixon going to Team De La Cruz. I'm going to spend a little bit of time reading out some bios of these newcomers. We have so many of them this season. They're over half the roster. So if this week sounds a little bit like getting to know the new athletes, that's why. Genesis is a returner from last year and was such a dynamic opposite. So we're seeing Team Valentine Anderson come together. She's wasting no time locking in those hitters. It's going to be really neat because we're going to see new front rows, new hitting like pairs together on these teams because we have so many newcomers. A little bit about Genesis. She finished in 9th place last season. She established an AU Pro Volleyball single season record in her win points. She was consistently on teams that did well and was somebody who impacted that. She came away with a 12-3 match record last season. She only lost 3 games, winning 720 match win points. She had 81 kills, 107 digs. So just someone you can really rely on the outside position and someone that Natalia is familiar with in that position as well. Then we had Claire Hoffman. I'm going to share a little bit about her because she's another one of those newcomers. She's an outside hitter. So with Morgan Hintz back-to-back picks going with the outside position to lock that in. She was a 3-time All-American at Washington. In UW history, she's finished 5th in career kills, 4th in career attacks, and 4th in career aces. She played most recently in France and was named the best outside hitter of the 2023 season in the French Cup. So Claire Hoffman is somebody who just really stepped in the scrimmages and made a big impact, and that's why she's the second pick for Team Hintz. Then Betty De La Cruz with her third pick, she picked Tori Dixon. So establishing really that starting front row we're probably going to see from this purple squad. Tori Dixon, a returner from last year. She's played with AU multiple seasons. She's familiar to the format, familiar to really just being a leader on any team because she's a veteran pro. She has last season under her belt. She's one of the most experienced players in the league overall, and somebody that you can always count on for a steady performance. So as we're seeing this next round kick off, these players are wasting no time locking in their picks. Legator is heading to the purple squad. That's who Betty made in her double picks. So if you were tuning in to really the historic year that Pittsburgh had in 2021, where they made it to the Final Four for the first time, Legator was a leader on that team. She's someone who made a huge impact. She's an outside hitter. So she started her pro career with Italy. She's going to be playing with she played with the Atlanta Vibe this past season in the PVF, helping her team earn the regular season title. What was really neat about kind of her journey that season, she worked her way into the starting lineup. We're seeing her go early off the board to join Team De La Cruz. All hitters so far from that squad, and opposite a middle blocker and then another outside hitter. I'm really excited about seeing Betty and Legator complement each other this week. That's a pair that I think could be really dynamic as we head into week 1. Team Hints locking in Marley Monserrat. So that's going to be her setter this week. She was somebody who played indoor and beach volleyball. She started at the University of Florida, where she played for 4 years and was a setter on the indoor team. And then she went to UCLA as a graduate student to compete on the Bruins beach volleyball team for 2 seasons. She's another one of those athletes who played on the Atlanta Vibe. And so that's who Morgan Hints is locking in as her setter for this week. She was someone who got a lot of playing time in the scrimmages. And so that's who she's going to go with as her setter. Allison Mayfield is heading to the Orange squad. A little bit about her. So she is a Kansas volleyball player. She's had a lengthy pro career since graduating from the Jayhawks in 2012. She's played for over a decade overseas. She's played in France, Switzerland, Finland, Peru, Greece, Hungary. So she's somebody who just really knows the landscape, how to perform at a high level, how to fit into teams wherever she goes. I think one really important thing to note is she most recently won with the Omaha Supernovas in the PVF, and she was with Natalia Valentin Anderson on that team. So I think that connection that they're going to have is really going to speak volumes in week 1 of just athletes who are comfortable playing with each other. I think that was a great pick for Natalia in her 3rd round to pick up Allison Mayfield. Haiti Casanova is joining Team Nunaviller. Okay, in going to the scrimmages, this is an athlete that just stood out. A little bit about her, I actually saw some fans in the TikTok chat when we were live streaming those scrimmages asking, who is that? Who is number 0 on? She was playing on the gold team then. She'll be on the gold team again this week. And that's Haiti Casanova. So she's been a member of the Cuban national team since 2014. She was the best scorer at the Pan Am Cup in 2017, best opposite in the Romanian League in 2020, best opposite at the French Cup in 2021. And she's played professionally all over. She defected from Cuba and now has a passport based out of Bulgaria. So it's really exciting to have her join this season. What stood out to me is that she always could find her timing, no matter what kind of the situation was on the court. I think she is going to be someone who can really make a big impact as an opposite this season and is probably one of my top newcomers to watch coming into week 1. So in case you guys are having some issues looking at the draft board, I'm going to keep announcing every single one of these picks just so you guys know who's coming into these teams. If it gets a little repetitive, I promise we'll be better going forward. I'm actually going to have Kevin Barnett join me as a co-host next week. He's going to help me out with things and just talking about this team. He's our play-by-play analyst for our broadcast. He's been with AU since the beginning too. He knows these players. He has such a great pulse on the international audience, so he's going to join in next week. Right now, we're just running through who these athletes are. We have so many players who are playing with AU for the first time, and then ones we haven't seen in a year. Maybe if you tuned into the PVF, you got to see some of their performances. Others went and played overseas. So I'll continue to announce these picks as they come in. So starting off the 4th round, going to the gold team is Lindsay Vandeweide. That's an outside hitter for Team Nunaviller. So looking at that squad so far, obviously you have the captain in Brooke. Her first pick was Molly McCage, then Sydney Hilly as her setter, Haiti Casanova as an opposite, and now Lindsay Vandeweide on the outside position. So I really like how balanced this team feels so far. Gotta say, a lot of returners. Haiti is the only athlete on that squad who is a newcomer this season. So Brooke maybe so far in these early rounds going with what's familiar to her. Team Valentine Anderson. So her fourth pick is Kaz Brown. So looking at that squad, you have Natalia, Rochelle, Collazo, Mayfield, and now Kaz Brown locking in the middle position. Kaz is such a great player to have on your team, not only on the court, but just what she brings in atmosphere and team chemistry. She's someone who always lifts her team up. She has one of my favorite celebrations on the court, and just how she embraces not only when she scores, but her teammates score. I think that's a great pickup in this early round for Natalia, picking up Kaz Brown as she kind of starts to establish that offense that she's going to run in week 1. So heading to the blue squad, we have Morgan Hintz. Danny Drews was her number 1 pick. Claire Hoffman, another outside. Marley Monser a setter. Jenna Rosenthal is going to be her 4th pick as a middle blocker for this blue squad. Jenna, another one of those returners who would really have some big games last season where she just kind of became the go-to person. So we're starting to see almost all middle blockers drafted in the 4th round, as Betty is going to pick up a middle 2 in Kayla Caffey. Probably for me, one of the biggest newcomers last season, playing in her first year with AU. I think she was just somebody who really can make a difference in the game. She earned a para-match MVP honors, had 50 kills and 12 digs, tied for 3rd in the league with 26 solo blocks. I think that is a huge asset that Kayla Caffey brings to a team, is how consistent she is and how great of a presence she can have at the net. She began her pro career playing in Puerto Rico. She played with the Grand Rapid Rise this past season in the PVF. She played really well in the PBF this season, so definitely somebody that I think is coming in hot. Ooh, all right. We have the first libero off the board. So Betty De La Cruz, making a double pick, is picking up Manami Kojima. She is AU's first Japanese player. She is one of the best liberos in the world right now. So a little bit about her. She's been on the Japanese national team for some time now. She's one of 2 liberos who competed with Team Japan at the 2024 Paris Olympics. Japan won silver at the Volleyball Nations League, so she has had a super busy summer. She was selected as the best libero of that tournament, and so she is really just coming in hot and somebody that has made a huge impact and will on these teams. I think maybe one of those athletes that fans are most excited to see play here in the U.S., and this week she is on Betty De La Cruz's squad. Morgan Hintz in the 5th round picks up Karis Watson. So back-to-back middles for Team Hintz. Just had Jenna Rosenthal as the last pick. Now Karis Watson as the current pick. She's someone who I thought really looked great at scrimmages. A little bit about her. She's returning for her 2nd season with AU Pro Volleyball. She was ranked 5th in the league in win points last season. She was just really on teams that did super well. She's played professionally since 2016. She played with the Atlanta Vibe, so that's another one of those PVF connections that we're seeing at the draft so far. Morgan Hintz was the libero for that squad. So she probably has a really good pulse on where Karis is at right now in her game. A lot of belief, a lot of connection there from playing together for quite a few months in the PVF. Emily Thader is heading to Team Valentine Anderson. Okay, a lot of these athletes double picking middle blockers back-to-back. Emily Thader is another one of the newcomers this season. I'll tell you a little bit about her. So she played at the University of Missouri. She ranks 5th in program history in blocks and block assists. She mostly recently played for a club in France and has also played overseas in Germany. She won bronze medals in the SEV Cup and the French League A. She's someone with international experience stepping into this season and is the 5th pick for Team Valentine Anderson. Brooke Nuneviller wants to hop on this trend of locking in her 2nd middle blocker, and she goes with Lauren Page. Again, another newcomer this season. She just finished 1st place with FC Porto in the Portuguese division overseas. She played at Oregon, so another one of those Oregon Ducks in the league this season. She's played in France, Germany, and Switzerland. She won the 2021 Swiss Cup Championship with her team. She was on a really successful team that year. And she was a top 8 scorer in the league in the 2019-2020 season. So another athlete with tons of international experience stepping in to AU for the first time. So Team Nunaviller making back-to-back picks. Her next pick coming in is Timmy Thomas Alaria. A little bit about Timmy is this is her first year as a pro, and she was an outside hitter for the San Diego Mojo in the PVF. Throughout the PVF season, she had 330 kills and averaged 3.67 kills per set. She also had 12 aces and 28 blocks in the 2024 season. After 4 seasons at Northwestern, she closed out her collegiate career at Washington. She was a 3-time first team All Big Ten selection and the 2022 AVCA All-American. So Timmy is another one of the outside hitters on Team Nunaviller this week. Okay, we've got a super familiar face to AU coming off the board. Willow Johnson is heading to Team Valentine Anderson for the first week. Last year, she earned all-position team honors. She had such an incredible season in 2023. She finished 14th on the leaderboard and was someone who really picked up a ton of MVP points. She was 3rd in the league in kills with 183, 5th in the circuit with 379 attack attempts. So her setters were never holding back on going to her as a hitter. She was tied for 10th in the league with 19 solo blocks. So again, another one of those athletes who's going to be a big presence at the net, can really make an impact as a defensive player as well. A left-handed opposite, she's got good flexibility and range on the court. Another one of those athletes that played in the PVF. She was with the San Diego Mojo in the second half of their season, and also last year played in South Korea. So Team Hintz picking up the first opposite for this squad. She's going with Kat Bell, another one of those newcomers this season. A little bit about Kat. She was a 3-time All-American and a national champion in 2012 for the Texas Longhorns. She started her international career in South Korea, but she's also played in China, Puerto Rico, Turkey, and the Philippines. She's a 2-time Philippine champion, and she is super loved there. She competed in the inaugural season of the PVF with the Vegas Thrill, and she just signed a contract to go back to the Philippines to compete in the Premier Volleyball League. An athlete that I really felt like looked like they were starting to get comfortable at the scrimmages, and she's going to be the first opposite drafted to Team Hintz. So a little bit of a recap for that team. Kat Bell came off the board, back-to-back middles with Karis Watson and Jenna Rosenthal. Marley Monstrez is the setter, Claire Hoffman is the outside, and Danny Drews was that number 1 pick for this squad. Okay, here she is off the board. I've been so curious to see who Betty De La Cruz is going to establish as her setter, and it's Nutsara Tomcom. She goes in the 6th round to Team De La Cruz, a fan favorite. She is one of those athletes that has packed out our gym last season, and she's one that earns it. You know, it's not just because she is just this really lovable star, but it's because she's such an incredible setter. She puts together these creative offenses. She keeps defenses on her toes. She's one of the most decorated athletes in the world for a reason. She was named Setter of the Year in the Pro Volleyball Federation in 2024. She had 932 assists in the season. She averaged about 10.59 per set. She commanded her offense, who had a hitting percentage of .217. She's been a pro player since 2007. Nutsara just knows what it takes to win. We saw her be really successful last season at AU. She finished 13th in 2023. She's played with Team Thailand for 2 decades, and I cannot wait to see her paired with Betty De La Cruz in week 1. All right, we're starting to see some of these picks come in really quick. So I'm going to run through this 7th round and probably 8th round back-to-back as these teams come in. Paige Briggs goes to Team De La Cruz. Berkeley Oblad goes to Team Hintz in the 7th round. Omaris Velez Agosto is going to be the libero for Team Valentine Anderson. And then Brooke Nunaviller picks up another opposite with Kelsey Payne. So Brooke made back-to-back picks. Kelsey Payne is an opposite joining that squad. Then she established a secondary setter that's coming in the 8th round in Maddie Bug. Gia Day, opposite hitter, goes to Team Valentine Anderson. Taylor Brogdon-Tagenrud, another setter option for Team Hintz, going to that squad in the 8th round. And then Alicia Glass-Childress going to Team De La Cruz. I'll be really interested to see how she balances her 2 setter options this week for her teams. So that's who we're seeing in the 7th and 8th round. I think what stands out about this AU Pro Volleyball season is at no point does the talent really differ or drop off at all. This roster is so competitive. As I'm seeing some of these players go in the 7th and 8th round, I'm like, man, you could have put them on a roster even earlier. Keep in mind, a lot of these captains are making picks based off of what their team needs positionally. It doesn't always have to do with that athlete, but really just has to do with maybe what position the captain plays, who was their number 1 pick. They have to hit a requirement of certain positions in putting together their team so that the teams are balanced. So that has a lot to do with things as well. Going in the 9th round to Team De La Cruz is Kayla Hanneline. Sheridan Atkinson is off the board and going to Team Hintz. Tessa Clark, the middle blocker, is joining Team Valentine Anderson. And then Michaela White, the middle blocker, is on Team Nunaviller this week. And rounding out this draft, Brooke Nunaviller waited until the last round because she knew she was going to automatically get Mary Lake, a really successful setter who I'm so excited to see return to playing as a pro after taking some time off. She's going to Team Nunaviller. Gabby Blossom is going to be with Team Valentine Anderson. Erin Fair's going to Team Hintz. And Becca Latham, the opposite, heading to Team De La Cruz. So this rounds out your squads for the Week 1 draft. Keep in mind, don't go anywhere. We are going to have the captains join us in just a few minutes, and we're going to get to talk to them about their picks, about the draft. Opening day this season, so it's Monday. These teams don't have a ton of time to practice and get to know each other. Our first game is on Thursday, October 3rd, 5 p.m. Arizona time. So if you're on the East Coast, we're hoping you're going to stay up and join in for some prime time watching of our first game. It's going to be Team Hintz versus Team Valentine Anderson. That's going to be on Bally Sports and on Volleyball TV. So these games are going to be accessible and easy to watch for fans this season. We want you to be able to tune in and watch no matter where you are. Then at 7:30, Team Nunaviller versus Team De La Cruz is going to come up right after. Same networks, Bally Sports and Volleyball TV. That completes the Week 1 draft. Stick around. We'll be right back shortly with a panel with our 4 captains. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. As promised, we're going to get to chat with our 4 captains. But first, if you're tuning in on Facebook, now's the time to go and hit that VRTL link. That's how you're going to enter to win a one-on-one meet and greet with one of our mystery captains who's going to stick around after the draft today and get to talk to you all. But first, I want to dig into some of my questions that I have for our captains. So first, let's talk about the number 1 picks. Betty, I want to start with you. Why did you draft Brittany Abercrombie with your first pick?
Hi. Oh,
Hey.
I think as an outside hitter, I need also my right side stronger. And for me, Brittany is one of the best here.
Okay, Morgan, I'm going to come to you next. Tell me a little bit about Dani Drews. I know that you were familiar because you got to see her in the 2022 season. Tell me maybe what you saw from scrimmages and just your plan for your team, why you wanted to kind of build it around Dani Drews with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I had the good fortune of playing with Dani back in 2022, and I just really loved playing with her. She brings great energy. She's super terminal offensively, and I just think, yeah, she's a huge offensive weapon, and that's something I definitely need to start off with when I'm making a team.
I think that was something we saw across the board from the captains is really establishing the offenses early. Natalia, tell me about picking Maddie Rochelle. She's one of those newcomers, so you got a really good look at scrimmages, just kind of seeing where she was at. What stood out to you for her to be your number 1 pick?
Yeah, I also was able to play with Maddie back in the day, and we have a great relationship. I always want to build my team on chemistry, and on top of that, she's one of the best players on the gym right now. So as a setter drafting, I will love to have a all-around 6 rotation outside hitter.
Definitely. Okay, and Brooke, you took things maybe a little bit differently than the other captains, picking a middle blocker with your first pick. You don't have to explain to me why you picked Molly McCage, but for the fans, tell us about why you wanted her in her number 1 pick, did not want to mess around and wait on possibly missing out on having her on your team.
Yeah, I think there's, it's really special to have such a powerful arm and just be an offensive weapon at all times. I think for middle blockers specifically, maybe they're not seen as getting drafted as high because, you need that perfect pass, or with our setters, like a 2 pass at least in this gym to be able to run them. But I think I'm known as a ball control outside hitter. And so me and my libero, and now I have Lindsay and I have Temi, and we can take up a lot of court, and I think we can stay in system, and I think Molly will be a powerhouse. So I just wanted a big arm, and then Sydney will dish some balls to her. So yeah, that's why I picked her.
I kind of want to ask you guys about your team overall. Brooke, you kind of just hit on it of what this gold squad is going to look like this week. I know it's early. You're going to have 2 days of practice to kind of put some things together. But coming into this draft, did you really have a plan of what you were looking for? And did you feel like you were able to put that together here for week 1?
Yeah, like I said, I think my team will bring ball control. And so I think I just wanted a really big arm. I can be a really good complement to a big arm, but I don't want to be that number 1 hitter that has to, get thrown up the ball just because I'm a little more undersized. So I wanted someone that can score at will. So, we have some really, really powerful opposites. And Haiti that I got, I think she's really, really strong. And so she'll bring another big arm.
Agreed. She was someone at the scrimmages that was just kind of like you can't help but notice her throughout those games. So we kind of talked about it throughout the draft of how exciting it is to get to see her make her AU debut on Thursday. Okay, Betty, I want to talk about you pairing up with Nutsara this week. I think that's going to be such an exciting offense. Tell me what stands out about your team. You have a good balance of returning players and new players.
Oh, I think my team has almost everything we need. Like, we have really good talented player, fun, and also nice person. So I think we will have good chemistry in the games. And for sure, to
Definitely.
play with Nosara is always fun. And of course, she is a star setter, so it's an honor for me to play with a game with her.
Yeah, fans, I don't know if you guys could see the results, but we heard them this is the team that you voted as you think is going to be the strongest in week 1. But Morgan, I want to hear from you. You're somebody who had a lot of experience in the captain role last season. You put together different teams every time, able to switch it up, able to be dynamic in who you put on your squads. What stands out to your group about week one, and maybe give me a player that you're excited to play with, maybe for the first time or the first time in a while.
Yeah, I really like when just a team gels together with a good energy, good vibes, and it's really hard not to find that in AU, but like just the chemistry on the court, that's something I was really looking forward to and really wanted to ask everyone that I drafted, like, who do you connect best with, like before we were making our next pick, because that's something that's really important in developing team chemistry and bonding. I'm really excited to play with Claire. Like, she was someone that surprised me. I played against her in college a ton. To have her on the same side of the net is really fun.
Okay, Natalia, I'm going to come to you with the same question. I think you have the unique experience being a setter as a captain of getting to put together the offense that you're facilitating to. Tell me what stands out to you about kind of these big hitters that you went with in your early rounds, and maybe someone you're excited to play with too this season that it's maybe been a while or it's going to be the first time.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying that picking an orange as a setter is really hard, but I'm so excited to play with every single person on my team. I think, I love a fast offense, and the fact that I got that in every single position, very stoked about. And I'm just someone that wants to make people around me better. So I will help anybody in any way to reach their full potential.
Anybody that you're excited to play with in week one that maybe you haven't or that you really were impressed by at scrimmages? Oh, Natalia, I'm going to come to you with that one.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I guess Emily, it would be one that I've been played with back in the day. And she showed yesterday on the scrimmage that she's capable. And yeah, I'm excited to play with her. I'm excited to play with my fellow Puerto Ricans, Noma and Hennessy's. And yeah, it's going to be a full team of great attitude and a lot of effort. So excited about that.
All four of you have played in AU Pro Volleyball before. You finished high on the leaderboard. You really know what it takes to win. I know it's early in the season and probably too soon to tell, but if you had to pick one thing that is going to be most important this AU volleyball season for 2024, what would you say it's going to be? Brooke, I'm going to come to you first.
I think just being really consistent in this league is really important. You can have a couple down games, but if you can just bring a really consistent performance and your all-around game, you're going to be really successful. So I think strategies for drafting and just playing is, being good over time instead of just having all-out performances and then not your best.
Morgan, what about you?
I would say just maintaining good composure throughout the entirety of the league. I think it's really easy to get caught up in looking at statistics and the leaderboard, but the more you can just focus on gelling with your team and just taking it day by day, I think that's the best mindset to have going into this league and lead to the most success.
Betty, what comes to mind for you?
I think adaptation. Like every week you have to change team and you have to adapt to a different player. And if you can have this, you will build like every week and going up and up, and you can finish or win the league. But adaptation is a word I can say is the most important in this league.
Definitely. Okay, Natalia, round us out. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll have to second Betty. I think adapting in this league is key, and also staying grounded. Everything just changes so quickly. If we stay grounded every week and we build from what you have that week, it'll make you successful in this league. So yeah, for sure, adapting and staying grounded.
Thank you for the insight, for telling us a little bit about your teams. Fans, thanks for tuning in to this week one draft. We're going to let these captains go. They've got some planning and practices to get to, but don't go anywhere. You might be one of the fans who wins that 1-on-1 meet and greet with our captain this week. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And captains, of course, thanks for this time. Appreciate you, and see you at practice.